On Friday, Apprentice Brayden offered an invitation to yours truly to attend his enlistment ceremony. The following day, yours truly informed Apprentice Brayden that the only possible conclusion of an invitation would be for yours truly to speak, and related to Brayden that a speech and invocation was nearly finished, and in due time a copy would be submitted to his superior for approval. Quote, "To behold suffering gives pleasure, but to cause another to suffer affords an even greater pleasure." End quote, the genealogy of morals. Of course, not all suffering should be considered as physical suffering. Witness the uncomfortableness that arises from pranks, such as convincing someone that a speech, no doubt long-winded and rambling, has been duly prepared and will be shortly submitted, wherein the mental anguish of Apprentice Brayden telling yours truly that the intention of the invitation was not to give either a speech or an invocation, but only to be present as a witness. We have learned from the best, Plato, the father of plausible scenarios and lying innocently. We assure the general reader that the individual some people call the greatest occultist of the 21st century will not break character. The will to prank, Capricorn, all too Capricorn. Although speeches and invocations are not typical written genres for yours truly, nor are they unknown to us in their spoken form. Several members of the group, formerly known as the high schoolers, have enlisted, all without any speeches, benedictions, or fanfare from yours truly. In light of these facts, does George show favoritism is a reasonable question, and our response is that none of those enlisted asked or invited us to attend, and what is true for vampires is valid for good manners. To arrive unexpectedly is in bad taste. Regardless of the reasonable reasons invitations were not issued, ranging from oversight to indifference, yours truly has never wavered in supporting their choices. Once an enlistment has been confirmed rather than planned, the following message was publicly sent on social media. Quote, "Today N has begun a path that will be both rewarding and challenging, and we wish him all the best." End quote. In our mind's ear, we hear a certain apprentice wondering aloud, "Who is N?" Hint, Apprentice Colton, substitute N for a name. Let us expressly state that the substitution of the names RJ, Denver, Joe, or anyone else, whether known to us or not for Brayden, does not invalidate what is written, but verifies our observations, thoughts, deductions, and conclusions over the previous 2 years regarding the high schoolers, generally, and those who choose to serve specifically. In conclusion, we may state that there is a type of personality or temperament that is ideally suited for a vocation in the military. Plato designated these select individuals as guardians, whose sole purpose is to protect the Republic from enemies. The speech proper. During one's life, there will be only a handful of memorable dates that one will experience, such as one's marriage and the birthdays of children. These dates are difficult to forget, not only for months of anticipation that lead up to the event itself, but for the subsequent importance of those days. We may justly add the day of one's enlistment to our short list of memorial dates. Quote, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness," end quote. This opening of the second paragraph of the Declaration of Independence is easily overshadowed by the further listing of abuses endured by the colonists. Yet these actions by the Crown would not be rightly considered abuses if either kings had a divine right to rule, or their subjects had no recourse to another, higher authority. The idea of man's equality is not original to our founding fathers. This concept is found in certain books and was discussed in various circles for generations, if not centuries. However, to declare in a permanent, published political document, as opposed to hushed whispers and words in dark corners, that man has rights due entirely to the dignity of man as man, was revolutionary. Had our founding fathers wrote that our rights come from government, then they'd have no reason to describe the actions of the Crown as abuses, the king being both the beginning and end of government. By assigning man's rights as originating from the Creator, the implication is that these rights existed before the foundation of any city or any country. Hence, it is not within the authority of any government at any time, as governments represent people, not the Creator, to justly deny or interfere with these rights. The idea that people should be allowed to follow their own interests, whether political, religious, or financial, was also revolutionary. This individual self-interest may be called the pursuit of happiness. Selfishness, or placing one's interest before others, is typical of mankind, and if everyone rationally acts in their own interest, then, given enough time, everyone benefits, at least in the short term. The evidence for the unforeseen benefits of self-interest are well documented since our founding. No one in 1776 could foresee that 3 million generally unremarkable colonists would be the start of a world power, eventually more influential than the English, French, or Spanish at the height of their respective empires. Our nation could have easily become one composed mostly of merchants and farmers, each seeking his own self-interest and enjoying success seeking his own pleasure. History clearly teaches that there have always been certain individuals who want to impose their values upon others by either imitation or force. It is unlikely there will be a lack of those individuals in the future. Citizens using their liberty to pursue their own happiness without further considerations cannot long endure, as there will come a time when enemies of the state will wish to forcibly impose their views, opinions, and worldviews upon those selfsame citizens. Necessity dictates that if a nation wishes to be free now and for future generations, then certain individuals are required in every generation to put the security of their country, including those they will never know, before their own naturally selfish interests of pleasure and happiness. I suggest that Brayden has acquired this unselfish trait, among other virtues, and various qualities from myself, through a type of transference unknown to modern science. These transferences must have occurred during our infrequent conversations over the last 2 years. I feel this explanation is the best, but if it's not completely satisfactory, then I suggest that Brayden acquired his views from his peers. Of course, his peers have various, and no doubt when considered as a whole, conflicting views, so it is more likely Brayden was influenced by a select number of like-minded mentors than by his numerous peers. Of course, we cannot dismiss Brayden's family as a significant positive influence. The evidence for this is Brayden himself. Yet not everyone who has a good family enlists, and family, like peers and mentors, have conflicting opinions even concerning such mundane topics as to what to have for dinner. Of course, if Apprentice Denver is involved, it is unlikely any agreement will be forthcoming. We state the obvious. Brayden is not unique, as we all have mentors, peers, and family. However, over time and from a multitude of influences, Brayden must have accepted certain ideas as good, while rejecting others as bad. We are curious and we ask, how and by what methods did Brayden choose certain beliefs, while dismissing others that led him to enlist, rather than another course of action? I suspect the truth of this matter is that Brayden has always possessed specific traits and certain characteristics that assisted his decision to choose military service. And while certain essentials, such as the proper role of government, the concepts of political philosophy, and military training can be taught, they are external criteria. A self-motivated individual is a requirement for success in these demanding endeavors. Brayden has not acquired the prerequisites for service and duty from anything external, whether from any individual, yours truly included, or from any group, whether peers, mentors, or family. Brayden's virtues are internal and have their origin from the Creator. Therefore, Brayden always possessed virtues, among other admirable qualities, and the culmination of their non-contradictory expression is his enlistment. The Master commands what is freely received should be freely given, and we have understood this solely in terms of learning, and while this interpretation is not incorrect, it is not complete, as the commandment is applicable, perhaps more so, to inherent values. Brayden's enlistment fulfills the idea of giving freely what he has freely received from his Creator. As the Apostle teaches, Brayden has put away selfish wants and childish thoughts, and now begins his duties and responsibilities as a guardian of our Republic.